Okay, I guess we'll get started then. Good morning. My name is Zion Brigham. I'm with the Center of Regen Ag and Resilient Systems, as well as I'm here today with Ted Gailey and Lindsay Heathcote. And we'll be talking today about Butte County Farm Bureau's 2024 HSP grant, specializing in the compost overview and guidelines. A little project overview if you're not familiar with the Healthy Soils Program initiative. It was brought from CDFA, the one that sponsored it. Butte County requested it, got the grant holder. They were awarded $4 million. And then Chico State Center Regen Ag has been running all the TAs, the technical assistance for the grant within the accepted counties of Butte, Glenn, and Tehama. I want to bring this up real quick. I use a lot of QR codes throughout my presentations for helpful links, articles, research, anything like that. Just have this slide here to kind of help you if you have any questions on using QR codes. You can just open up your camera on your iPhone or Android and just scan it right from your screen. So we kind of have a jam-packed agenda for today, looking at some different aspects of the compost, from on-farm and off-farm compost and the requirements that CDFA lays for you, as well as some of the benefits that you'd see. So jumping into that benefits, as I stated, these will be three different benefits and three different systems, just to kind of highlight what you may see and things you may want to look out for going forward. For benefits of compost and orchard systems, reduce that soil health improvement, enhancing soil structure, increased water retention, increased organic matter, disease suppression. Compost can introduce beneficial microbes that help suppress soil-borne pathogens. There is some nutrient availability that compost does provide. That's what a lot of growers are going for, as well as carbon sequestering. As a lot of you would see in a Replan Tool, compost does sequester quite a bit of carbon when it was calculated out. And then I have some little three articles, some research has been done to kind of back up a lot of these. In row crop systems, we'll see a lot of the same things: enhanced soil fertility, improved water efficiency. You'll see that's increased water holding capacity, reducing irrigation needs, enhanced soil permeability, and reduced erosion and runoff. We do have some reduced chemical inputs with decreased reliance on synthetic fertilizer, as well as pest and disease control. Can encourage beneficial organisms, as stated prior, that help suppress pests and diseases. We do have a couple of growers utilizing compost on rangeland pasture system. Just wanted to highlight some of the nice things that they would see, some further benefits. Soil restoration, helping build up that organic matter, fertility. A lot of these rangeland soils are not neglected per se, but not a lot of inputs or fertilizers are ever used because it doesn't balance out. The compost that HSP allows really helps encourage growers to utilize that. Nextly, we have water retention, improved soil structure, aiding in moisture retention. Again, high organic matter leading to water retention within the soil. Sustainable grazing supports healthier plant growth, would allow for better grazing for your cattle, sheep, whatever you're running. A lot of that. We have some biodiversity, promotes diverse soil microbes and communities, supporting overall ecosystem health. Again, lots of benefits coming from compost within these three systems. And a lot of time these will overlap with one another. These are just some I wanted to highlight for the individual systems, really showing off what they can provide. When we look at types of compost, there are a few types. What we're going to be mainly focusing on is the green waste compost, manure-based, and some blended compost. So kind of jumping into all four of these and what they are. Green waste compost is plant-based materials like leaves and grass clippings, really aids in organic matter, balances soil pH, and suppresses weeds. Best use is a general soil improvement for crops or gardens. Just kind of looking into that. Manure, a lot of you already know, livestock manure mixed with blending materials, high in nutrients, boosts for soil fertility, enhances microactivity. Will best use a lot of your orchards, sometimes need that nutrient deficient soils. This is especially in grain and forage systems also. Food waste, we don't really see a lot of that up in the Northern California. It's decompressed food scraps like fruit, vegetable, and coffee grounds, rich in organic matter, trace nutrients, and decomposes quickly. Again, great one. And then you have a blended, that's all of those different aspects can be blended together depending. choosing the right compost, there are some factors that growers should be aware of when choosing it. You have your consider nutrient needs, like in compost based on your specific nutrient requirements, your CN ratios, what that looks like, soil structure and health, choosing compost types that improve soil texture, organic matter content. I do have some examples with all of these if you want to take a look at. For this one, the use of mushroom compost for enhancing soil structure in heavy clay soils is one type. We have application timing, matching compost application with crop growth stages for maximum benefit. Again, a lot of times you see this with applying green compost waste because you have that slow release of nutrients. And then we have some environmental impacts that might persuade you to choose a different compost or that compost. It opts for compost with low contamination risk and high environmental benefits. We don't want runoff, especially if you're doing food clippings or scraps. You could have some higher risk of contamination with that. If we jump into the application, within your Replan tool, it kind of lays out everything that you're going to need for your application of compost. It's a great tool, and I recommend every grower be very familiar with that Replan tool that CDFA has provided, as well as you submit it on your application. So jumping into it, you're going to have what page you can find your field on. It's going to be right here in your project implementation work plan. You're going to have the system. So this one's going to be an orchard system, as well as you're going to have your CN ratio and what payment scenario you've picked. So as you can see for this one, we have a compost scenario with a CN ratio higher than 11, application to a perennial orchard or vineyard, and then the compost is purchased from a certified facility. If I was doing on-farm compost or doing a lower CN ratio below 11, that would be slightly different or change what it is. Then we're going to have the application rate, so how many tons per acre of compost we're applying to what field is the next category. Or you can look at that APN, but really you want to look at that field number and see on that map where you designated to apply the compost. And then again, compost is a 3-year project that you have signed up for. So you do have the timeline. If you had signed your contract now, you have started year 1, next fall would be year 2, and so on. Also good to remember, you can always look at your map. It's going to say what practices to implement, what your compost CN ratio needs to be. You have your timeline, your payment scenario again, all on that nice map for you. And this number on your project implementation will take you straight to that map. Some things to consider when applying compost. This is coming off of NRCS's compost or soil carbon amendment. We have slope management, steep slopes you want to avoid, greater slopes than 15% to minimize erosion or runoff risks, moderate slopes, especially near water bodies does become a problem you want to be very considerate of. Proximity to the water, creating buffer zones, leaving at least 100 feet buffer from the surface water, riparian areas, using additional protective measures in riparian zones to protect water quality. Weather conditions, don't apply your compost if it's raining or super windy. You don't want that runoff or that compost material to get blown away to the neighbor's field. Purchasing compost. So the CDFA with the HSB grant allows for 3, or I should say allows, suggests the use of these 3 websites or applications to really find compost. However, I'll get into later, if you don't choose one of these, you can send in a certification from your compost facility to the Butte County Farm Bureau CDFA grant to verify that the compost is of standard. These 3 are Cal Recycle or the Swiss search database, CDFA OIM certified facilities, and STA. The technical assistance at Chico State, really, we recommend the first or the second or the third one. Those are probably some of the best ones. Again, you can find all this information again on Butte County Farm Bureau's HSB grant guidelines on page 13, or you can scan that QR code to take you over there. Jumping into what these look like. So I have 3 slides kind of showing off each one of these applications and what they look like, and QR codes to take you straight there. So this is the registered OIM products. These are different products that can be used with dry compost material, as well as the firm that they are purchased from. Here is the Swiss certified partnership, or STA, sorry, certified compost partnership. These are a great source of looking for compost vendors in your area, and they already have the STA certification. So high quality compost because they go through some rigor. And same thing with Swiss. I would like to know if you're going to use the Swiss, it does have a permitted plus regulated section. Just verify that it is permitted or regulated, and it is not just something that they have on their Swiss facility site search. The implementation and verification of those off-farm compost. So our general requirements and guidelines ensure compliance with specific requirements for your selected payment scenario. That's really just looking at making sure you're doing the right tons an acre and you're getting your CN ratio. Again, that higher than 11 or lower than 11 is really important when you get to submit that CN analysis. And that takes us into the next step of verification. There's 3 to 5 geotag photos. CDFA requires this straight from Replan, showing compost piles, compost being spread, and the field ground right after the compost is spread. However, we do recommend you take more photos. The more the better, just in case CDFA comes back and says, hey, these don't work, or there's any problems, you have that backup. So really, we recommend taking those pictures of the compost pile, take a picture of the compost being loaded into the hopper, take a picture of it being spread in the field, take a picture of it in the field right after, and then repeat this almost on the next side of the field or the next load. We don't want all your pictures being on one side of the field just to verify that we did apply the compost throughout it. It's also important that when taking these photos that we stay within those APN requirements that you have labeled on your Replan tool. I'll get a little more into that in the photos, but just kind of mentioning it now. The next part would be a copy of the receipt for compost purchased. This is coming straight from your compost supplier or whoever you're getting your compost from. It needs to have the grower's name or your name on it, or your whatever legal entity that you had registered for the Healthy Soils Program with. With this, a analyst report on your CN ratio is also required. That it will come again from the compost facility in most cases, unless we're doing some on-farm compost, which I'll get into that a little later. I had mentioned it earlier. If none of your compost facilities that you chose from were on any of those registries, you can submit a certificate of compost facility, and that will take you right here. There's some other things you can do. Reach out to your TAP if there's any questions regarding that. We can kind of walk you through the process of what that certificate looks like. CN analysis requirements. Butte County Farm Bureau requires a CN analysis. It is suggested to submit a carbon to nitrogen analysis or CN analysis to Butte County Farm Bureau prior to the implementation of compost. This is really to ensure that as you, the grower, receive the high quality product and that it's going to be applicable for your project. When you verify that, oh no, this isn't higher than 11 and you specified it was. Things like that. It's just another check we can help you with. We do advise it. You can send it over prior to purchase. A lot of compost facilities will send it over to you prior to you purchasing it. If you tell them like, hey, I'm using this for CDFA HSP, and this is something that they wanted to kind of verify. And again, I'm bringing this up. Purchases must be made after contracts are signed. If you have an invoice that is prior to the contract is signed, it will become a problem, and Butte County Farm Bureau and CDFA may have to contact you, and we'll have to work something out. A lot of times we want those purchases to happen after the contract is signed. That was something that was specified in those grower one-on-one meetings, as well as in your contract. And again, reach out to Butte County Farm Bureau's TAPs, Ted, myself, or Lindsay. If you have any questions regarding the CN analysis, we're here to help you. I'm going to kind of switch gears and go into on-farm compost. We have a few growers that are looking to implement these requirements, and it's a little more than what meets the eye. So here's some basic information when it comes to implementation, the general requirements and guidelines, ensuring compliance with specific requirements for your selected payment scenario. Again, this is looking at that Replan tool where I showed off. If you're doing on-farm compost, it's going to really break it down. Yeah, you're going to have to keep a log of everything. So that means compost materials, methods of composting and processing all must be documented. There is some differences if you were doing a feedstock. However, I don't think we had any of the growers doing that, but if you had any questions or want to go more into that, please reach out. We have some information as well as this link that kind of takes you over to what agricultural materials or biosolids can be defined. The verification requirements for on-farm compost are a little different than off-farm purchasing of compost. Again, we need those 3 to 5 geotag photos. The more the merrier again, showing compost piles, compost being spread and ground right after the compost. A composting log, including raw materials, methods, temperatures during the composting process. This is something that's going to be huge and may take some time to kind of get some knowledge based on how to do it. Again, reach out to us if you have any questions. I'll be going over it in the next slide too. We're going to need an estimated total tonnage of your compost applied, so how big your pile is, and figuring out how many tons you did. It'll really help. I recommend as you input material in, weighing it out. A lot of growers will do that, getting some analysis that way. And then you will need a compost analysis report or CN ratio. I've contacted CDFA. They do not have any labs or regulations with that. You just need to make sure that you get a CN analysis. Reach out to your local laboratories and see if they'll run it for you. As I said, this is kind of what the on-farm composting log template looks like, and I have a link to that right there. In this top part, we have all the farm information, the composting method, date started, date completed, and the agricultural system. And the bulk of it's going to be this compost pile log. So I recommend anytime you add, subtract, take the temperature. Again, this is all going to be laid out in your Replan tool when how often you take that temperature. Make a note of it. It's really going to help in the process. And this document allows you to add more and more lines as you go through. So you're saying, hey, I'm running out of room. You can just add another line if it's digital, or just print out another one. We'll staple it together. And then once you're ready to apply that compost in your field, you're going to use this bottom part with the average compost weight or volume per truckload, number of trucks, and that total estimated weight. Again, it's estimated. Do your best you can. However, really want to make sure that we are staying within those Replan specified guidelines. And then I have some more helpful links. I had the CDFA compost application white paper. This is a white paper that goes a little more into the background of composting. I have some more on-farm composting resources. There's a whole web page the CDFA dedicates to on-farm compost and some resources for it, as well as I have the Swiss facility and site search if you have any questions or looking for places for compost. I'm going to switch gears again, going into a little more of the geotag photos. This covers both aspects of compost on-farm and off-farm. On the left here, I have how to take geotag photos or enable location on an iPhone, as well as a YouTube video showing you the process on the iPhone to walk you through it. I also included the CDFA's instructions. This is a little two-page document that they have that outlines how to take pictures and geotag information and what to do. I jump to the next page. I have it for Android also in a YouTube video that kind of outlines it. As well as I want to call attention to this bottom right. This is the geotagging phone application. There is an app that CDFA recommends. It's really easy to utilize. It helps quite a bit. This is the app, the GPS map camera geotag photos. Super easy to use. I have their how-to video linked here. It's about 2.5-minute video that outlines how to use it, how to download it, how to enable the services and everything. I also have a link to this app. The nice part about this, we don't have to worry about finding the lat or longitude GPS coordinates on the back end of the photo. It's right down here. I don't know if you can see, but when you take a snapshot, it'll be at the bottom of the photo, really allowing Butte County Farm Bureau to verify that we are in the correct locations. Once you've taken your photos or you have your receipts or you're looking for reimbursement or soil test, where to upload that, you should receive a link to a SharePoint file emailed from Butte County Farm Bureau. Within this SharePoint, you're going to have a number or a file with your contract number and your name. Within that, you're going to have more files with, for composting, you'll have 3 years. So it's going to be like year 1. And then you'll see 3 folders in that with photos, receipts, soil test, and reimbursement. And if you're doing multiple practices, you're going to have, you'll see if you click on photos, you're going to go to practice 1 or practice 2. So say if I have cover crops and I have compost. For this one on compost, I'm just going to select the compost one and drag and drop or upload my photos into that folder. This allows Butte County Farm Bureau as well as yourself to have a record of that submission. And if you ever have to make any changes, you can hop in there by yourself. This allows you to always be able to update your photos or any receipts that you want to capture and have one place to kind of manage your Butte County Farm Bureau HSB grant. Again, please reach out to Butte County Farm Bureau, Danielle or Colleen for questions regarding the SharePoint file, or if you have any permission or denials, just work with us. We'll be glad to help you and walk you through that process. And kind of ending it up, I have this link to the Center of Regen Agriculture and Resilient Systems composting page. Has a ton more information going into more of the literature and some aspect of compost. If you're just still getting familiar with this process and what it may look like, there are also some great farmer mentors that have done the process and kind of explain their thoughts and findings. And I thank everyone for attending today. I have our contact information, Lindsay, Ted, and myself up here. And please reach out if you have any assistance or need any assistance throughout this process. I know it's challenging, and we're here to help you. And with that, I will open it up to a QA session.
Thank you, Zion.
Um, And again, these videos will be available on our YouTube if you ever have to go back to it. And we'll try also linking the slide decks. But a lot of times, those QR codes that I put in there take you to the links that are provided. So it should be pretty easy for you.
Now, Zion, the requirements for on-farm composting, that is in the Healthy Soils request for grant applications or the guidelines, correct?
Yeah, it's in the guidelines also. There's a whole web page, as I said, dedicated on CDFA that goes through the different compost on-farm resources, keep you in compliance with like the air and water board if there's any complications with that, anything in that aspect. Again, I'd recommend if you're doing on-farm compost to kind of jump into that web page, just look through it. If you wanted more information on compost itself or even off farm, looking at the CDFA's white pages is a great resource also. It's about 13 to 15 pages and kind of goes over almost every aspect of it.
And regarding the making sure we have the CN analysis prior to implementation, or what was that?
Yeah, so Butte County Farm Bureau encourages to have that CN ratio submitted prior to your purchase, just so we can verify making sure you're in compliance with the selected CN ratio that you had on your payment or your plan, as well to make sure you're getting a quality product. We don't want growers to get burned with these regenerative practices if they make a mistake or the compost facility isn't being very truthful with them. Just really looking to help ensure the compliance with the program.
Just because you got money from the state doesn't mean you shouldn't get quality products.
Exactly.
Hey, Zion, this is Ross Shoup. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Hey, just a quick question. On my compost, we did that last year with the state.
Mhm.
Are you going to want copies of all the logs and the sign-off documentation that I got from the CDF a vet?
This is your on-farm compost, correct?
Yes, we did. We
Yes.
lost the chickens to the avian influenza,
Hmm.
so we composted everything here.
Yeah, it's going to need the sign off. Again, that log's going to be the big aspect of what you
Okay.
put in, what you do, all that. I recommend
Well,
going on. And again, Ross, you have my phone number. We can kind of walk
right.
you through it if there's any problems, but I don't see anything on yours.
There shouldn't be. It's signed off by the state vet and everything. So
Yeah.
we've got all the logs. So
Hmm.
we should be fine.
Yeah. Again, that document I kind of showed off too. I can slide back to. It's not very encompassing either, what they
No,
require.
I've got a lot more paperwork than that for.
Yeah.
So,
And this
okay,
is what CDFA recommends to use for that on compost. So again, it makes it a little easier for you too.
okay. Because, it's just the state was in charge of the compost, even though we did all the work.
Mm, yeah.
Now, Ross, you had you were in CDFA's state solicitation period last year.
When you say solicitation, what do you?
So the CDFA, the Healthy Soils Program directly from CDFA.
No. We lost our flock of chickens to avian influenza.
Okay.
So we had to compost everything on site.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Gotcha.
So I'm completely out of the norm for anything you guys have.
Gotcha. So that's why you had the additional. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Ted,
Yes.
yeah, Colleen and Danielle was all aware of it too when we had our meeting.
Yeah. I have a very big pile of compost.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Ted,
No, I was just wondering where you're using for your carbon and nitrogen analysis for testing.
We use the what is it? The fruit growers.
Okay.
The growers lab. Yeah.
Yeah, right there by
That's a good one.
SNS.
Yep. That's who Butte County's been kind of showing off to utilize for growers because it's so local.
Yeah, the list that CDFA has that I had, I called like 5 people and they're like, oh, we don't do those testings. So the CDFA list is wrong too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are recommending all soil tests be sent to fruit growers lab as well.
Okay. Yeah. They were great. Took them a couple days and no problem.
Yep.
Nice. Very nice.
I'm sure it'll take them more than a couple days here soon.
Yeah, with all the growers that are going through HSB grants.
Yep. Good deal.
Ted, did you want to stop the recording?
Yeah, good. We got that dialogue.